with this one coming into it right here. You got the whole thing though, especially with the whole thing, especially with the, you got your everything else. You got the just the crystal flowers and everything else. But you got JB, Crystal Mills, but the changed, and just the Crystal Mills and the JB, and just with the whole thing, especially with the whole thing coming through this one and everything else, and with the just the change to like, hey, and everything else, especially with all his other ones, like, he got a main thing coming onto it, especially with the change. Like, hey, who changed, with the main thing, but you got the Crystal Mills, JB, and especially with the everything else, coming into it, and the main thing but changed, and with Crystal and Mills, one of that's a different one right there. But JB, especially with JB, knowing who he is, but Crystal Mills, hey, that's something, that seems a little, autism, but you got a little bit of a little bit of a changed, and everything else coming through this.
19 makers.
Tell me what you don't feel the same. Tell me what you're thinking. You don't feel the same. Tell me what you don't feel the same. Tell me what you're thinking. You don't feel.
I fell in love with the girl that you was before. I ain't in love with the girl you became. You were the one that changed on me. I don't know why it's me that you're giving the blame.
I changed on who, what, where. I saw it came and I disappeared.
Before, I ain't in love with the girl you became. You were the one that changed on me. I don't know why it's me that you're giving the blame.
I changed on who, what, where. I saw it came and I disappeared. I really don't hate you, just wanna thank you. So even you, now I'm going where.
I fell in love with the girl that you. I ain't in. I fell in love with the girl that you was before. I ain't in love with the girl you became. You were the one that changed on me. I don't know why it's me that you're giving the blame.
I changed on who, what, where. I saw it came and I disappeared. I really don't hate you, just
Ooh, came out of here. Did we just
I changed on who, what, where. I saw it came and I disappeared. I really don't hate you, just wanna thank you.
Ooh, and the whole thing, like, hey, especially that's like a combo thing, they got a combo thing, he done said a little bit of his sentence, and and then she's saying, hey, how could I do this? How could I do that? When I was still around, hey, and the whole thing, like, hey, that's a combo of a thing, especially the mix of a thing, they got a mixture of, them, parting them, putting the combo in the mix, and the main thing, just coming through like, hey, I came here, I just appeared, and I came through the whole mix.
In love with the girl you became. You were the one that changed on me. I don't know why it's me that you're giving the blame.
I changed on who, what, where. I saw it came and I disappeared. I really don't hate you, just wanna thank you. So even you, now I'm going where.
I fell in love with the girl that you was before. I ain't in love with the girl you became. You were the one that changed on me. I don't know why it's me that you're giving the blame.
I changed on who, what, where. I saw it came and I disappeared. I really don't hate you, just wanna thank you. So even you, now I'm going where.
Never thought about letting you go. I ain't gonna lie, 'cause the feeling hurts. Heard you're getting with someone else. I wish you the best, I hope it works. And it could have been you and I. It's crazy how the tables turned. I hate when he has you smiling, car. I was the one that was doing it first.
We never
With someone letting you go. I ain't gonna lie, 'cause the feeling hurts. Heard you're getting with someone else. I wish you the best, I hope it works. And it could have been you and I. It's crazy how the tables turned. I hate when he has you smiling, car. I was the one that was doing it first.
We never saw eye to
Oh, I was the one was doing it. Hey, I was the one that was doing it for, hey, and everything else, especially, when you was the first one to be the first one, or everything else, like, you came first before everything else. Like, hey, you was the first one to even have that little thing, that turbulent things, and then, it's crazy how the tables turn, how everything could be so perfect, and then now everything is just so, so off now. Everything is off now. Like, everything just went. Everything was going well, and everything is just, now it's all a mess. Everything else, like, it's just everything is just not. Everything is not, how you want it to be no more. Like, how it just crew pitch.
I was the one that was doing it first.
We never saw eye to eye, cause you made me a promise you lied. I took you back, even held you down. I'm scarred for the pains that I torn us apart. They say that our future's clear. Right now I ain't seeing it well. I'm stuck with the image of you and I. We could have been well, we could have been fine.
If I wanted you back, would you label me toxic? It's a mistake that we locked in.
Know how you are with a girl, so trust me. Don't really want this, I just want nothing.
First time we met, when I shot my shot, I was hoping you wouldn't have blocked it.
The girls they want me, didn't wanna listen. Should've just heard and stopped this.
I fell in love with the girl that you was before.
Ooh, they coming. They just both, they both got like a both, the lyrics, lyrics like they both hit and they both have like it's both, Sanskrit. So they both got it, already, Christian and everything else, especially how the whole thing is curving. Like, hey, them lyrics is curving the way they just, both, connecting and curves this.
Time we met, when I shot my shot, I was hoping you wouldn't have blocked it.
The girls they want me, didn't wanna listen. Should've just heard and stopped this.
I fell in love with the girl that you was before. I ain't in love with the girl you became. You were the one that changed on me. I don't know why it's me that you're giving the blame.
I changed on who, what, where. I saw a game and I disappeared. I really don't hate you, just wanna thank you. Sorry for you, now I'm going clear.
I fell in love with the girl that you was before. I ain't in love with the girl you
Thank you, sorry for you, now I'm going clear.
I fell in love with the girl that you was before. I ain't in love with the girl you became. You were the one that changed on me. I don't know why it's me that you're giving the blame.
I changed on who, what, where. I saw a game and I disappeared. I really don't hate you, just wanna thank you. Sorry for you, now I'm going clear. Had an epiphany. I wish we could figure things. I love too hard, now I'm missing this. Missing us, missing things. If time goes back, how we fixing shit? I'm walking away from this misery. I wish you the best, you're not switching things.
Ooh, walking away from this misery and everything else, we just friends. Hey, and we just friends now, the whole thing. But hey, sometimes, hey, it is what it is, things happen, and things happen and it just goes from there. So, that's how everything else, how I can really put it down, because with everything else coming through this, but for everything else, I can really give it to you, like the main thing, especially how they coming, like it's just, especially how it's coming, I just look at it as you know the whole thing, how they just put it, how everything else is, solution and everything else, especially how they coming and how they, how they part, and they lyrics, they both got a part in this.
To the next one to bigger things.
It's mad how you're leaving, man, in the past. HBK, cause you broke my heart. And I chose to give you my all when you ain't even giving half. I clocked that you struggled to play your part. Show me love, is it really that hard? And I'm missing the way you went, cause your body a worker. I fell in love with the girl that you was before. I ain't in love with the girl you became. You were the one that changed on me.
Ooh, what they say? Hey, what do they say? You like the first person who they was before. You don't like, what they became. Like, hey, especially how the whole thing goes. Like, hey, you like that first part, but you don't like, how everything just changed, how a person just changed. Like I don't even know how to put it, because it's like, that is true. What he just said. You come from this part, and then now you a whole different person. So it's like, it's like another devolving.
Girl you became, you were the one that changed on me. I don't know why it's me that you're giving the blame.
I changed on who, what, where. I saw a game and I disappeared. I really don't hate you, just wanna thank you. Sorry for you, now I'm going clear.
I fell in love with the girl that you was before. I ain't in love with the girl you became. You were the one that changed on me. I don't know why it's me that you're giving the blame.
I changed on who, what, where. I saw a game and I disappeared. I really don't hate you, just wanna thank you. Sorry for you, now I'm going clear.
Tell me what you don't feel the same. Tell me what you're thinking. You don't feel the same. Tell me what you don't feel the same.
Oh my God.
You don't feel the same. Tell me what you don't feel the same.
Hey, it's crazy. It's crazy how it goes though. But hey, this one right here, it was the one, it seemed like it was a benefit, a benefit of a story, Especially how everything ended too, it just ended so, purpleity, like, it just seems so, real, even how you get into it and everything else, but how it just got so, it got so into purposeless and everything else, especially how it ended, because everything else, how it just comes through, it seemed like it was like a benefit of a half of a story, what's really going on, especially, all this stuff that, everything else, but hey, you got to change. Like, hey, the both things you got both, they both, came through and they both, gave us the whole thing, especially from me seeing how I've seen it. This was just so like story list them and everything else. But hey, with this one right here, make sure you guys definitely like, comment, subscribe, everything else. You see it, but yeah, with this one right here, you got the little bit of the change. So, everything else coming through this one and a part of this.